Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. As people are starting to join the session, we'll just be starting in a few minutes. In the meantime, if you want to put in the chat, introduce yourself, tell us where you're tuning in from. We would love to hear from you. Hi, everybody who's trickling in. We are just waiting for a few more people to join. I'm really excited to kick off this conversation with Kim from Upwardly Global. We will be starting in just a few moments. So someone's tuning in from Denver. Hi, Josh. If you're watching, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We have Anthony. Welcome, Anthony. Welcome from Portland. All right. Well, it looks like we have a few people watching. So definitely want to kick this off as we have a lot of great content to share. Today we will be talking a little bit about the new partnership from Upwardly Global and HiredScore. My name is Tracy Montour. I'm head of strategic initiatives at HiredScore, and today I'm thrilled to have a discussion around HiredScore's brand new partnership with Upwardly Global and how our bias mitigating AI and Upwardly Global's approach to supporting immigrant and refugee talent will accelerate immigrant and refugee hiring. I'd love to introduce you to my guest today, Kim, Director of Employer Engagement at Upwardly Global. Kim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you to HiredScore and to Tracy for inviting me and the Upwardly Global team to be here. As Tracy mentioned, I'm the Director of Employer Engagement at Upwardly Global. I've been with the org for just about 3 years, and I've been working in the refugee and human rights space for over 10 years.
Amazing. So let's start the discussion. If anyone has any questions throughout the LinkedIn Live, please feel free to type them in the chat and we will get to them by the end of the call. I'd like to quickly introduce HiredScore. HiredScore is the leading provider of talent orchestration technology. Our AI, automation, and deep integrations empower the largest and most innovative companies in the world to safely and transparently drive critical business outcomes in recruitment productivity, diversity hiring, internal mobility, and total talent management. Our proprietary technology is compliant by design and seamlessly connects to data and systems to power the shift to proactive and fair HR decisions. We're live in 150 companies or countries and available in 70 languages. And of course, we are guided by our mission to support employers in hiring with ultimate fairness and efficiency. Kim, I'd love for you to tell us more about what Upwardly Global does and what's the value to employers.
Absolutely. So we are Upwardly Global. Our mission is to eliminate systemic barriers and lift immigrant professionals, including refugees and asylum seekers out of underemployment into thriving wage jobs and unlock their full economic potential. We know after working with this population for over 20 years that they face a specific set of barriers and challenges while entering into the US workforce. It could be the lack of professional networks. As we know, 85% of jobs are found through personal or professional networks, or possessing foreign credentials that are unfamiliar to US-based recruiting teams. So we work on the one hand to support newcomers in preparing them for industry-aligned professional employment in the US workforce. But of course, in this equation, employers play a role. There can be unspoken cultural norms or confusion around work authorization. It's for this reason that we aim to provide impactful tools and resources to employers. We know that to truly move the mark, this work requires a commitment to DEI from the C-suite level of corporate leadership all the way through to talent acquisition teams and even general staff. We provide best-in-class training capabilities and customized high-touch service delivery through partnerships to offer our tools and support from a top-to-bottom approach and to help build more inclusive corporate cultures. We have the ultimate goal of transforming employer practices and building a movement of companies working together to co-create employer-led DEI products and to share best practices across industries and reach DEI objectives. Our work with dozens of employers has highlighted the importance of workflow solutions such as seamless integration, ATS integration, and AI-enabled tools that reduce the manual work vis-a-vis job matching. It's one of the reasons why we're thrilled to be partnering with HiredScore to develop this new pilot that will further reduce barriers for our job seekers to enter into the workforce. So I'd like to take a pause here to talk a little bit about the state of the workforce and how immigrants and refugees impact. In June 2021, our partners over at the Migration Policy Institute revealed that the percentage of new immigrants holding bachelor's degrees or higher has increased in the last 30 years from 27 to 48%, almost 50%. However, 2.3 million of these immigrants are underemployed or unemployed. Underemployment has serious consequences for individuals and the US economy, causing these college-educated immigrants to surrender $40 billion annually in income, and local and federal governments to surrender $10 billion in taxes. This is known as brain waste and defined as the underemployment or unemployment of college-educated adults in low-skilled jobs. So in other words, where these folks are either jobless or working as rideshare drivers. On this slide, you'll see that brain waste is at a historic scale, and between 2000 and 2050, as you can see on the chart, the share of immigrants in the general population will continue to grow. And according to a recent report by NGen, 97% of the net workforce growth will be immigrants and their children by the year 2030. So I wanted to take a closer look at a specific population to really elucidate this picture for you. Since 2021, Upwardly Global has placed over 300 Afghan newcomers professionals into skill-aligned positions with a sum of annual salaries totaling over $14 million. We're super proud of this work. They're one of our fastest placing populations, I should say, thanks to partially their high levels of skills, their high English proficiency levels, and an understanding of the American working culture from having worked with US military and other US entities abroad. Afghans have the potential to make significant contributions to the US economy by addressing labor shortages in key industries like IT, engineering, architecture, and others. They're projected to contribute $646 million in earnings annually to the US economy if adequate career pathways and opportunities are made. So this is where employers come in. We lead a DEI employer working group of over 60 companies and recently held a set of design thinking sessions with representatives from DEI, recruiting, training, operations, and executive management to better understand why this population is still an untapped talent pool. Our research demonstrated that a variety of challenges are faced by corporations in this space. Uncertainty of where to locate immigrant and refugee talent, perhaps competing DEI priorities around veterans, gender, LGBTQ+, and race. And then I mentioned before, unconscious bias in evaluating talent, maybe not understanding how to translate the talent that they're seeing who have foreign credentials. With that, we know that 93% of organizations consider AI skills to be a business priority, but only 51% acknowledge that they have the right AI talent in-house to accomplish these goals. When we zoom out and we think about these factors coupled with contending workforce and labor factors such as DEI pressure from consumers and employees, we can think about what solutions are important. We know that companies face increasing pressure to diversify their teams, and that diverse teams are more creative and drive innovation, leading to greater business outcomes. Other contending factors include the Great Resignation. We found that in 2021, 41% of the global workforce was considering leaving their employer. And then of course, labor shortages and talent needs As we all know, human capital is one of the most critical competitive advantages that a company can have, but there's a lot of skills that may be lacking. This can amount to a total loss of around $8.5 trillion due to talent shortages and skills gaps, which is expected to cost companies overall in the US this amount by 2030. So in summary, together, we think that Upglow and HiredScore have a great opportunity to support organizations addressing these urgent challenges at the intersection of DEI workforce and immigrant and refugee economic integration.
Absolutely. And you can see why it was really easy for us to choose Upwardly Global as our partner, and why our mutual missions are so aligned, even though they may seem slightly different on the surface. So ultimately, HiredScore and Upwardly Global are partnering to remove the barriers and challenges to accessing and hiring refugee and immigrant talent by corporations through ethical AI. So something that we found throughout our conversations with our clients, and we have currently 45% of the Fortune 100 as our clients, is that they are already partnering with HiredScore and benefiting from our technical innovation that drives diversity and our integrity for maintaining the highest standard of quality and safety of ethical AI. But there's still a gap in streamlining the way they access immigrant and refugee populations. So for HiredScore, we've definitely seen the desire to do this, but ultimately the process was not effective or efficient enough to be truly impactful. What our partnership with Upwardly Global does is surface highly qualified, high converting talent directly in the workflow that recruiters are already comfortable with total explainability and compliant AI. So recruiters and sources that use HiredScore are already a captive audience, and HiredScore's situational awareness of open jobs and the hiring team's receptiveness to external talent completely streamlines the process of inviting these individuals to apply to roles. And as you can see what this looks like right here in our Fetch inbox, essentially when a recruiter is looking for talent, Upwardly Global leads will be proactively served up using our AI, and instead of the recruiter or sourcer needing to go into another system, the highly qualified candidates are appearing for the roles that they are a match with. Any questions or anything you would like to add, Kim, before we take questions?
Sure, thanks, Tracy. I just wanted to add actually just a little more detail on the population that we serve. I know that when we're using terms like immigrant and refugee, they can be very broad, and also in terms of skill level. At Upwardly Global, we specifically work with folks who come to the US with foreign credentials. So on average, our job seekers have 7 to 10 years of professional experience, and all of them hold a bachelor's degree or higher. And in fact, 50% hold a master's degree or higher. So we're really talking about mid to senior level professionals who bring a wealth of skills, including multilingual skills and foreign experience. So a wealth of different skills here, and hoping that we can connect them to both Upwardly Global's employer network powered by HiredScore, as well as to the HiredScore employer group as well.
Absolutely. And we do have a question that came in. So this kind of relates to what you just said, Kim, but oftentimes organizations are seeing more success in increasing diversity for entry-level roles while finding it difficult to do the same for management roles. So can you share what is the spectrum of roles and levels that our collaboration can support and that Upwardly Global supports?
Yes, absolutely. So building on what I said before, our job seekers start at a managerial level, right? They have 7 to 10 years of professional experience. When they enter into our program, we support them in understanding how their skills and experience from their home countries translate into the US. It can range from tax accountants to business analysts to UX UI professionals. And we do work at the mid to senior level. As I mentioned before, we have found, and we know from data, that diverse workforces actually can be more innovative and more resilient during times of instability in the workforce. It's for this reason that we support companies who are looking to diversify not only at the what we call the frontline level, but at the senior levels. If we're really looking to move the mark and create more diverse populations, whether it's through immigrant and refugees or other underrepresented talent groups, It's important for us to see that at the highest levels, right? We talk about boardrooms being more diversified. If we really want to change corporate cultures to be more inclusive of this population, it is crucial that we also focus on the mid to senior levels so that folks coming in at the front levels and the junior levels can see representation at higher levels and see a clear pathway to really then transform not only at the junior level, but the mid and senior level, all the way up to the C-suite and boardroom.
Amazing. And can we just have one more question? It'd be interesting for you to share some of the challenges that employers experience when hiring immigrant refugee talent, maybe for the first time.
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have a set of materials that we like to share with our employers through our partnerships and on our website that really outlines sort of that journey, both from a job seeker's perspective and the challenges they face, starting from the sourcing, from the application to interviewing, all the way on through onboarding. From the corporate perspective, as I mentioned before, there are some challenges around even identifying where to find our job seekers, but other things that can actually prevent our job seekers from getting even into a recruiter's pipeline and gaining that visibility include things like when a drop-down menu on an ATS system do not include an international set of degrees or a broad enough set of international degrees, right? If the drop-down menu only has the 3 top schools from a certain country and doesn't represent all countries, our job seekers may not have even the opportunity to apply for the role. We know that our corporate partners also may lack access to the right trainings that they need in order to build these internal processes. So it's for that reason that we offer what we call a recruiter readiness training, sort of paired with the talent sourcing that we do to make sure that, first of all, that recruiters feel supported in being able to source the job seekers, but also understand how potential unconscious bias might play a role when reviewing a resume. Let's say that our job seekers have a gap in the resume because they were fleeing persecution or that they were resettling in a new country. Oftentimes, automated systems can screen out folks that have a gap, and we're training our recruiter partners to screen in. So there are a number of challenges that are faced from the corporate side, and all of Upwardly Global's programs, including our budding partnership with HiredScore, are meant to address and support the employers in breaking down those challenges.
Amazing. Do we have any other questions from the chat? All right.
I do see one more here.
Okay.
From Kaori Hirakawa. What efforts have been done on the employer side, even if potential employees have high English proficiency? Oftentimes, job announcements and HR processes are intimidating. Would they consider implementing language access policies and procedures to make their employment processes more inclusive and equitable? It's a great question. So currently, we're working with about 60 employers through various initiatives, whether that's talent and hiring or exposure to our job seekers and cross-cultural competency events, as well as through our DEI working group. And we see a lot of best practices that we like to share amongst our partners. Some include, for example, encouraging our HR partners to have representation from our population on interview panels. We've actually seen with some of our major beauty company partners, as well as our major media company partners, implementing some of these strategies. So bringing on someone who has that background. We actually had one of our major partners hire one of Upwardly Global's job seekers to be on the recruiting team to then support sourcing of immigrant and refugee and other diverse talent. We also see a lot of varying efforts where when we've created a set of trainings, the company will take the trainings and expand them beyond just recruiters all the way to hiring managers, because we know that the recruiters are only sort of one barrier that our job seekers need to get through. If the hiring manager then receives great candidates but doesn't understand maybe those cultural differences of a job seeker who comes from a country where direct eye contact is actually considered disrespectful, there might be some misunderstandings during that interview process. So we do see a lot of efforts and best practices coming out of the work that we're doing with employers in building those infrastructures and cross-cultural competencies to be able to better support this work. I will say in direct response to your question that in terms of implementing language access policies, we actually are seeing that. Upwardly Global has actually received a grant from the Office of Refugee Resettlement as part of a Career Pathways program, where we'll be partnering with a language access provider to be able to support folks that are not yet at the English level that Upwardly Global typically works with, or job seekers levels that they typically work with, so that we can support them also in leveraging their skills and gaining those English skills that are necessary for that mid to senior level work.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing that. I think those are all the questions that we have. I just want to say thank you so much, Kim, for joining us, for sharing your expertise with our audience on LinkedIn, and very excited about the partnership and where we can go from here. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. Let us know if you have any questions, or you can scan the QR code to get more information.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tracy.